years ago. There no Spotify, no YouTube, I guess Google was new, no Chat GPT, but there was also no electronic money. You know, growing up, these girls, they've grown up with technology. They've grown up with, devices that are connected all the time. And they're not going to have the patience. I hate cash these days. It's like if I need to have cash, then I'm gonna have to get change. And I'm like, I don't want change. It's just so much easier to just use your phone. And so all that to say, these girls are never, they're not gonna have the patience for a bank that is closed after 5 o'clock, that is closed on holidays. Oh, you want to send money? Oh, it's gonna take 2 or 3 days. Maybe if it's over the weekend or a holiday, it's going to be 5, 6, 7 days just to send your money or get your own money. Like, they're not going to have patience for that. I don't have patience for that. So it's going to continue to evolve. And yeah, Bitcoin, it's just going to continue to shape, in my opinion, every facet of life.
I hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bitcoin for Family show, where every guest is your new BFF. That's your Bitcoin friend forever. I'm Scott from Shamray, and it's an honor to have you here once again. Thanks to everyone who has been listening or watching. I hope you're finding the show fun and educational. And if you have, please be sure to like, subscribe, share. Every bit helps in spreading the word to other Bitcoin families. Now, onto this week's episode. I'm excited to welcome a fellow girl dad of two to the show and good friend, Nathan Fast. Welcome to the show.
Scott, it's so good to see you again, man. It's been too long.
It has. We did get to see each other quickly in Vegas, but, it's never those settings. It's always hi bye, and, feels like you don't have enough time. But, being able to connect here, we'll hopefully spend some virtual time together.
Yeah, I love it. Well, all the Shamray stuff was flying off the shelves in Las Vegas.
It's always a fun and busy and hectic time. And it's been great, speaking of conferences, getting to know Nathan since his time at Swan and being able to lead some of the Pacific Bitcoin stuff. Over the couple of years, we got the joy to attend there. So that's how our connection goes back. And then even more importantly, we have two similar age daughters and they become off and on pen pals at times, even though they've never met in person. So we have that bond as well. So this should be a fun topic.
And they're both in the jewelry industry.
Exactly. They are. And actually, when I told Charlotte you were coming on yesterday, she said, "Oh, I need to write a message." So maybe there'll be one coming. It's been a while, but it did trigger her brain.
Yeah, good. We'll get back into it.
Perfect. Okay, well then before we jump into the heart of this show, let's let the audience get to know you a little bit. Maybe I mentioned your girl dad too, just from a high level, maybe tell the audience a little bit about your family, maybe their ages, just to give a scope there.
Yes. So let's see. Married, wife, Rebecca, 2 daughters. Lily, this is her freshman year. So I'm a dad of a high schooler. Nothing reminds you how uncool you are than having a high school daughter. So she's 14. Scarlett is 3rd grade, 9. So they keep me busy. It's been a very interesting journey coming from a family of all boys to now being extremely outnumbered in a family of all girls.
Yes. I know that feeling very well. Although I didn't come from a family of boys. I came from a family of girls as well. So I didn't have the vice versa. But yes, the outnumbering does happen. Well, very good. We'll touch on some of those topics as we go along. But before, let's get into some icebreakers here. And so for those that don't know, Nathan has a past as a DJ. And so if you were back on the air as a DJ, what song would you play to kick off the Nathan Special Hour?
So yeah, in a former life, I was a top 40 DJ. But I think I kind of outgrew that format. I can't keep up with who so-and-so's dating anymore. So now I listen to the oldies. However, to kick it off, you need high energy. So I got to go with Avicii, Levels, my all-time favorite song.
Okay, there we go. So going a U-turn from the actual DJ days, which makes sense. Perfect. Well, question number 2, a little would you rather here. Would you rather have the head the size of a baseball or the size of a watermelon, and why?
Probably a watermelon. I'd rather have a big head than a small head, for sure.
There you go. Told you they're going to come out of left field.
No, wait a minute. Is it a seedless watermelon? Like they have like those mini watermelons.
It's true. I didn't specify, so I think that lets you pick. So you might have made the right choice there.
I'm going watermelon.
Seedless, one of the small personal watermelons. Got it. That should fit perfectly. Okay, number 3. For those that also don't know, Nathan has some acting experience. So if you could star in another movie like Sharknado, what kind of disaster would you face this time?
Man, I did not star in Sharknado. What kind of disaster? I don't like disasters. I grew up in the Midwest, so there's lots of tornadoes. Tornadoes are terrifying. Lived in San Diego for a while during an earthquake. I hate earthquakes. Don't like hurricanes. Don't like fire. Man, probably a hurricane. Just so I can be by the beach.
There you go. That
I'll
works.
do a hurricane.
You could have gone Bitcoin style, and the disaster could have been, losing your keys or something like that.
Yeah.
Didn't have to be a natural disaster.
When I'm hanging out on Michael Saylor's yacht next time.
Exactly. Okay. Icebreaker number 4. Would you rather live forever or have the power to bring people back from the dead?
Bring people back. It'd be awesome to be able to have conversations with people I can't anymore. For sure.
Very nice. Okay. Last one here. If you could teach your family one skill that you picked up from being a DJ, what would it be?
Skill. I mean, my family, here's the thing, which we're probably going to get into, how I met my wife and they're all more entertaining and funny and hilarious than me. Like out of the entire family, I'm probably the least likely to have had a career as a DJ. I think it would be like they're very musical as well. They're taking singing lessons, I have a dancer. Probably the ability to mash up songs, just to hear a mashup in my head before it actually exists. That's a lot of fun. I would teach that because they can't do that. No.
Very nice. No, good stuff there. And maybe some people, I don't know if it's still live out there on YouTube anywhere, old clips of you being a DJ, but maybe somebody will go dig some up after hearing all this. Perfect. Well, that was fun. Let's kind of dive into that family story, like you said. So, let's start it off. How your wife is Rebecca, as you mentioned. How did you guys first meet, and kind of what was that moment that you knew she was the one?
I think I actually met her sister first because her sister was an intern for a radio station back in the day. And then how we actually started, she would call up and prank my night show as a college student driving home. She'd like try to win circus tickets or whatever. And I would be like, this girl has a really good voice. She's really funny. And then we eventually, the first time we actually met, I think she was working at a Santa set in a mall as an elf. And I saw her there. But then our paths, I ended up moving to San Diego following that radio journey and never thought I'd see her again. But she also ended up moving to California. We reconnected, and yeah, the rest is history. But like I said, she's way funnier, way more entertaining than me. And we actually went on later, maybe we'll get into this, to host a show together, which that's a whole nother dynamic, the whole working with your wife, which I'm sure you've got some insight on as well.
Very nice. Okay, so I have to ask, so when you saw her as an elf, did you know it was the same person who was pranking you, calling in, or how did that
I
happen?
was like, she's a pretty cute elf. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so you got the elf, and then you went along. So let's fast forward. So what kind of show was it that you guys started? I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, it was similar to the station that I was on in San Diego. It was pop music, but a morning show. So there was more content. It wasn't just 10 seconds in between songs. So we talked a lot about family life and current events and pop culture, but and local stuff as well. But yeah, she's just spontaneous, which is good, but shows need to also have somebody who's organized, who can steer the ship and who plans and produces. So that was me, and she was just the hilarious, spontaneous one who got to be funny.
That very nice. So, but at that time, were you guys married, or are you still dating?
Yeah,
or
yeah, we were married. That was just right around to give a time frame, like COVID, like 2020. We moved back to Idaho then, and so the world like shut down. We actually started in a garage because we couldn't go into the studio at the time, so we did it from her parents' garage for a short time.
Awesome being able to have that together. And I assume the audience knew you guys were married, correct? I know sometimes the personal stuff stays away, but it was kind of part of the show being the married couple.
You know what's crazy is that I'd never known. I mean, there are morning shows out there that are married, but in this particular radio group here, every single morning show was married. There were 4 different morning shows. All of them were married. I think there might be some in San Diego too. I don't know.
That is interesting. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure they're out there. But it does add to dynamic. I think it probably helps, the audience kind of connect with you guys to be able to feel like you're kind of part of the team and part of
Well,
the
you
family there.
definitely have a lot of content,
Yeah.
lot to, I mean, every little conversation, every little debate, every argument, everything could become content for the show, but it's also relatable. I mean, if you're waking up, and now one of my favorite morning shows here, I'm good friends with them, but they're married and everything they talk about is just so relatable. Even down to the smallest things, like the husband leaving the toilet seat up, or I mean, everything. It's so relatable.
Definitely is. And that's, part of why the show popped up, being able to relate to other Bitcoin families out there. And was this, so, we mentioned the DJ side of things and the acting side of things. Was that always your dream as a kid growing up, or how did that actually happen for you?
Yes, that was always my dream. It was different. I mean, I don't mean to sound like super old, but even in the 90s and early 2000s, radio was different because there was no Spotify, there was no YouTube. If I wanted to hear my favorite song, I had to listen to the radio. If I wanted to discover new music, I had to or MTV or listen to the radio. But it was just magical to me. Even back then, you didn't know what like the DJs looked like because there was no there was no Instagram to pop up and see what they look like. So it was mysterious and magical to me, and I was obsessed with it. And yeah, I interned for radio stations in college, worked for radio stations, but then I graduated and got a big boy job in finance. And I thought the dream was over, but then, yeah, I found my way back to it for a number of years.
Very nice. And so the DJ side of things, did the acting was that similar? Or did you kind of stumble into that, or how'd that?
That was voice acting.
Yeah.
Naturally, because I have a microphone and access, it was me. But that's a big thing too. I always encourage Rebecca because, again, I was like, she has a great voice. There's people who can make a really great living being a voice actor. You wouldn't, I mean, every cartoon, every commercial has a voiceover. There's a lot of opportunities, but it's also extremely competitive.
Yep. And only getting harder. Okay? That's, like the perfect example where AI will probably come in and take a lot of those jobs depending on which direction that goes. So who knows where that goes on that side of things. Were there a song that you dreaded coming on since you were top 40? Is there just one thing that just, you hear it today and you have to change the station or hit next on Apple Music?
Man, yes, I'm sure there was. Let me just, like I said, I listen to oldies now. In my opinion, like songs from the 60s, 70s, they're timeless. It's 50 years later and we still listen to them. But most annoying song, I haven't listened to them for so long. Like, I was extremely burnt out. When you play a song 5 times a show, 50 times, 100 times a week, I think I was pretty sick of Gangnam Style at one point. Pretty sick of like the Harlem Shake, like those trending songs. Yeah, there's probably some Cardi B song that I couldn't stand either. But it's been so long since I've heard it. I probably wouldn't be so annoyed now.
It might make you laugh
Yes.
now.
100%. There were songs that I had to turn down in the studio once it came on. I was like, I can't listen to this one more time.
Make sure you turn it back, the sound back up in time for it to end so you can start doing your thing again.
Right.
Do your girls ask you any questions? Like, is that a path that you think they'd be interested in, kind of the DJ or entertainment side of things, just because you and your wife have that?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we've done interviews and fun podcasts together and things, but nowadays it's not so much being on the radio, but it's being YouTube or an influencer. I think the wake up call for me was in terms of the writing being on the wall for radio. The format of radio that I was in was when my wife and I were doing a morning show, and we had a group of high school kids come in the studio for a tour, which is super cool to see behind the scenes, all the buttons. Wow, this is, and, I think one of us asked, so what's your favorite radio station? And they all just said, oh, we don't listen to the radio. It's the aux cable. It's Spotify. That hurt, But yeah, my daughters, I mean, they listen to the radio because I forced them when they're in the car with me, but they're so creative making videos and doing the dances. And I'll 100% encourage them to do that. I always wanted to be an actor, go to Hollywood, but it's not everything it's cracked up to be.
Are there any ways that Lily and Scarlett have surprised you with their creativity and talents?
Yes, when Lily was like 9 or 10, she got one of our old iPhones. Yeah, she was just making videos. I think, back in the day there was Vine, and now TikTok, obviously, but the creativity and her ability to edit these videos in 5 minutes and have them look really good was really impressive.
Yep. No, fair. Have you let them, or have they maybe on their own started using any of the AI tools that are out there to start create, whether it's images or videos? I know Charlotte dabbled, we let her dabble in a little bit just to kind of play around with it and make things. She loves, doing voice to text to, and making some random picture of who knows what, that sort of thing. Have your girls started doing that?
Yeah, she actually just made a picture of her and one of her classmates, like as toddlers, which was hilarious. But Scarlett also, and I'll just preface this. Obviously, you have to be very, very careful, and in terms of what you allow access to. But Scarlett, for a while there, ChatGPT was like her new bestie. Like it was just a riot, just having conversations and asking questions, and yeah. So she's got a version of ChatGPT that can be her bestie and just have conversations with her.
Yeah, and I guess to that end, as a recent high school dad, like you mentioned to one of them, what has that transition been like, and for you and Rebecca, and kind of going down that pathway for the first time? Sure, it's scary as parents.
Yeah, it has been really good. I mean, I forgot about back when I was in high school. I had something going on every night of the week. Basketball, baseball, football, 4-H, a youth group. I was never home. I mean, she's in very competitive dance, which keeps her very busy, and she's starting to have a lot of homework, which I'm having to brush up on my Algebra 1. I'll tell you, you want to talk about ChatGPT coming in handy, refreshing my memory with algebra. But no, she's great. From time to time, I'll see hints of little attitude, but yeah, she's for the most. I think the biggest thing is I had a talk with her before she started high school. Grade school, middle school, that doesn't really count in terms of grades, etc. And she's always been a pretty good student. But I say, it's way easier to do well your freshman year versus like me, I kind of goofed off and then I spent the next 3 years working to get my GPA back up, and I don't even know if she'll want to go to college, but I just said, now is the time to not just slack off.
Yep. How do you guys think about, obviously you mentioned college and that side of things, especially in the Bitcoin being, a lot of homeschoolers out there. You have your kids in the more traditional school, which is awesome. But going to that college step, that's kind of another kind of fork in the road where you mentioned, maybe she won't go. Is that something you guys would be comfortable with? Kind of seeing her, maybe it's a certification or wherever her creativity takes her, not just her, but Lily and Scarlett.
Yeah, absolutely. I think growing up, it felt like I had to go to college. And then as soon as I graduated college, had to get a job. I never even knew what a gap year or taking time to figure out things like that. That was not a concept to me. Them, it's a whole different world. Scarlett's already making plans for where she's 9. She's already making plans where she's going to go to college, what she's going to study, what she's going to do. Don't know yet. I mean, she might want to, she's talked about moving to Europe, maybe going and being a dancer at Disneyland. I mean, I will encourage her whatever she wants to do.
And kind of to that end, how do you guys kind of bring up the subject of kind of teaching about money, not just Bitcoin, but financial literacy, since that's something that so often gets pushed to the wayside when they're going through the school system? But in your home, kind of how do you guys approach that with both of them?
I will say, I never took one business class, one accounting class, never had any business, financial literacy, anything in school until my sophomore year in college, really. Funny, I mean, that's what I was I was a finance major, accounting major. The school that they have went to since we moved back here is it's business focused. They'll have Shark Tank competition sheets. They have to take financial literacy, and so they have learned a lot about money and finance in their school. But aside from that, we've encouraged them to start their own Fast Sisters jewelry. I think they're on Instagram. Yes, they're on Insta Fast Sisters jewelry, and so they've learned how to market on digital social media. But also, it's like, well, Lily, if you want to go to the mall, you're going to have to make some more jewelry, make some more money here, you know?
No, that's always a good. And have they enjoyed creating that together?
Yeah, 100%. And that it's fun to me too to see their creativity and making videos and making content to promote their creations.
Very nice. Does one take more of the lead or the other? Do they kind of have their roles? How do they kind of divide things up there?
If I'm being honest, Rebecca actually helps us out a lot there as well.
We know the drill.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome to see. And do you guys, from the Bitcoin lens, obviously that's awesome. Their school is doing the Shark Tanks and bring kind of the traditional side. Have you guys approached kind of teaching them about Bitcoin, gift, allowance, or however that's been done in
It's
the house?
mostly me. It's mostly me.
Yeah.
For a while there, every night whenever we'd have family game nights, whoever would win Uno, I would send them some Bitcoin. So they all have Lightning wallets, and they all know that this is something Dad is obsessed with. I just literally a few days ago, Scarlett was in my office here, and I had some old coins. Yeah, I used to collect coins sitting on my desk, and it was a 50-cent piece. It was a Indian cent, which is like a really old penny, right? And a buffalo nickel, which is a really old nickel. She's like, "Oh, this is cool." I was like, "Oh, she wanted to take him to school for show and tell." And I go, "Here, why don't we throw in a Bitcoin?" I was just joking, right? I go, "Just throw a Bitcoin in there as well." And she thought it was so cool. And she took it, and all of her classmates thought it was so cool. Bitcoin, what? Whether they even know what it is or not. But so I've been dripping them Bitcoin knowledge for years now at this point.
Very nice. And you mentioned earlier that you grew up in a family of boys. Kind of what was that like growing up?
It was brutal. We'd beat each other up all the time. And yeah, now we're much closer now. But yeah, we fought like cats and dogs. And so girls on the flip side are so much gentler. We throw each other into the walls and tackle each other in the yard. And so it's from time to time I'll get down there and wrestle with Scarlett, but it's nothing like we used to do as boys, man. And I grew up on a farm. I mean, we were outside all the time, building stuff, getting dirty, going for bike rides. So no technology, really. We didn't even have cable. I had like three channels. So yeah, it's a significantly different these days.
It is, and kind of I see the vice versa of each of those. What are some of the valuable lessons you've learned from being a girl dad that you could share with the audience?
Patience, empathy, understanding, all about dressing Barbies. I will say I've learned a lot of the trends from my kids, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't know what people are talking about on Instagram anymore.
No, that's definitely true. Probably for the better.
Yeah, probably.
And I believe you guys have some fun family traditions. One is the Nathan special that you get to have on Tuesdays. What's that all about?
Yeah, I have an unhealthy obsession with pizza, and my kids have inherited that. So every Tuesday, I'll make homemade pizza. Some nights it'll be cheese, some nights pepperoni, sometimes cheesy bread with no. I mean, sometimes stuffed crust. I think the favorite though is the double deckeroni.
Okay.
You remember that Pizza Hut used to have a...
Yeah, it's got kind of the crust and then the dough and the pepperoni and then crust again.
And then
again.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I remember those commercials.
That was one of my first jobs. My dream as a kid was working, radio and Pizza Hut.
And you've made them both come true.
Yeah, man.
So you took your skill of creating it, making it at pizza, and you've now brought it home. And I'm guessing it probably tastes a little better than pizza too, if I had to guess.
Man, nothing hit quite like that 90s Pizza Hut, the red cups. I love seeing those memes come back now of like Pizza Hut needs to go back to, all the Cracker Barrel stuff, and like vintage Pizza Hut was next level.
I can still, you think about the Pizza Hut breadsticks, you can kind of taste them in your mouth still today. There was something probably very unhealthy about them that sticks with you all this time. So
to answer your question, yes, throughout the week, meals might be different, but Tuesday night is the Nathan special.
Very nice. And you're making the dough from scratch, or how deep are you going on this?
I could, but that's a lot of work. So We'll
Yeah.
get pre-made though.
That is, well, if anybody's close by Nathan on a Tuesday, if you're smelling pizza,
Come on in.
pop on in. Might be the double decker or maybe something else that's going on there. And so another tradition I believe you guys have is each night you're watching some Bob Ross paintings before you go to bed. That's one that came out of left field when you told me. So where'd that come from, and what's that one all about?
Well, like I said, I live with a family of incredibly talented artists, right? And compared to me, I like draw stick figures, but they're incredible. And so we've watched Bob Ross painting videos. If you're ever tired but you can't fall asleep, pop open YouTube, watch a Bob Ross painting video. It's hilarious, and it's 30 minutes. He's just so soothing and calming, and it's the new tradition every night.
Does everybody have a favorite painting that he's done?
I like it when he includes like beaches, but he usually does mountains with a cabin. That's like his go-to. There's a cabin in like every picture, but I like the more beachy ones, obviously.
Got it. And how did it start? Was it something you came up with, or just kind of just happened one day and you guys have stuck with it?
I think it just kind of happened one day, and it just caught on. It was a hit.
Very nice. And last one on this topic: do you guys ever paint with him?
Yes, yeah, we did. We had a Bob Ross painting competition a few weeks ago, which our entire garage is an art gallery now. I've got all the girls' art from over the years in our garage, and so those are the latest additions there.
Well, I think we need to get some of these paintings into the art area at the next Bitcoin magazine. You should have had them at Pacific Bitcoin. You were in charge of that one.
I will say this.
There you go.
Does that look
Beautiful.
familiar?
Yes. Nope.
That's my style. That's my style of art right there. I like that.
Hey, you can probably get those up there, sell them for a few sats. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, it's like those original Pacific Bitcoin trading cards. Should have saved those, huh?
Exactly. Aladdin is often telling the story about how so many of those ended up in the trash, unfortunately, that, thousands of dollars just in a landfill somewhere.
Insane.
But those get more beautiful every year, every time he puts something out. So shout out to Aladdin and the Bitcoin trading cards team. And, what was that? Pacific Bitcoin 2022, right? When they launched. Yep. So being able to be there with Nathan and Aladdin and see that from the start. So if anybody is out there, you're not familiar with Bitcoin trading cards, go hit them up. Beautiful, beautiful trading cards that you won't be disappointed seeing. With maybe they'll make we should let Aladdin know he can do a Bob Ross style in season 4. Yes. Maybe you could do it. It's the Nathan version of a Bob Ross painting on one of the cards. That of a 101. I'll have to go out and pull that one. No,
one of one.
It'll be beautiful. How is being outnumbered by women in the house kind of change your perspective on life compared to growing up with all boys?
I mean, me and my brothers, we deserved it. We deserve to get in trouble. I'm very gentle with. I think probably I don't raise my voice much around the girls, and if I do, it really freaks them out. They're like, "Well, this," But yeah, I'm just I'm a lot. Try to be more patient because Scarlett reminds me of myself a lot, and so I can understand kind of where she's a perfectionist, like borderline OCD, sensitive, overthinker, and so I understand where she's coming from a lot, and so I can be more patient and relate to her in that way.
Do you think Rebecca and Lily are they more kind of similar in characteristics, or how does that dynamic?
Yes, I would say, but yes and no. Rebecca loves hypothetical questions and Lily does not. But they both, like, family's very important. They're both incredibly artistic. See, I could see the similarities there as well.
Got it. And kind of as you look into the future there, are there some ways that, you think about Bitcoin and how it could kind of impact your family's future beyond just finances, but just kind of how it could impact you guys, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line?
I was just thinking about this morning, the differences between, 20 years ago. There no Spotify, no YouTube, I guess Google was new, no ChatGPT, but there was also no electronic money, growing up, these girls, they've grown up with technology. They've grown up with, devices that are connected all the time. And they're not going to have the patience. I hate cash these days. It's like if I need to have cash, then I'm gonna have to get change. And I'm like, I don't want change. It's just so much easier to just use your phone. And so all that to say, these girls are never, I mean, they're not going to have the patience for a bank that is closed after 5 o'clock, that is closed on holidays. Oh, you want to send money? Oh, it's going to take 2 or 3 days. Maybe if it's over the weekend or a holiday, it's going to be 5, 6, 7 days just to send your money or get your own money. Like, they're not going to have patience for that. I don't have patience for that. So it's going to continue to evolve. And yeah, Bitcoin, I mean, it's just going to continue to shape, in my opinion, every facet of life. And I think, Scott, the one thing that has really been interesting to me working for a Bitcoin mining company is the innovation and the opportunity that it's creating, not just in America, but around the world, whether it's Bhutan or Ethiopia, or in the case of Hive in Paraguay, where yes, we're mining Bitcoin with all hydroelectric energy, but we're also lighting the streets at night. And we're upgrading the air conditioning in these 80-year-old grade schools so students can learn in comfort, and sponsoring soccer teams. So there's stories all around the world of how Bitcoin is empowering communities, and I think that's only going to continue to spread, as my girls grow up.
That's awesome. Maybe touch on that a little bit. Like you mentioned, you're working at Hive. And so some of those stories, they're, like you said, they're touching families in these, countries that wouldn't be able to have those things. Are there some specific stories that you've heard that kind of come to mind first and foremost around the good that it's doing?
Well, there's going to be much more coming out on that, I'd say, in the coming days and weeks. Last week we were just in Paraguay filming with some of the community members, and all the way, from the state and local officials, but all the way up to the president. But just stay tuned. I would say stay tuned. How about this, Scott? As soon as I have the project that we're putting together that really tells this story, I'll share it with you.
Perfect. No, send it our way. We'll be sure to share. And maybe for those that aren't familiar with, if you're able to dive down this, they're not familiar with, they hear about Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, but maybe they're like, what does that even have to do with turning lights on in a schoolhouse or something like that? Maybe from a high level, can you share with the audience kind of just the nuts and bolts of maybe how some of that works if people aren't familiar?
Man, yeah. So, I mean, most Americans don't know very much about Paraguay, right? I didn't until I really started to learn about it. Paraguay is a fascinating country. They're very pro-America, pro-business. They've got a young president who, is supportive of what Hive is doing in the country, as well as, leaders on both sides of the house. But Paraguay, they've got home to the largest dam in the Western Hemisphere. It creates so much hydroelectric energy that they typically sell it to Brazil and Argentina, the excess. Typically, they might be lucky to get payments on time, most likely not. So all that to say, it's a win-win situation for a Bitcoin mining company, because the utility company there gets consistent monthly payments in US dollars, and Bitcoin mining company gets access to clean, renewable hydroelectric power. So all that to say, we've just completed 2 phases down there in Paraguay. We're now launching our third and final phase for now. But yeah, we talked to the governors, the local officials down there, and because we don't just want to go and take from the community. How can we ingrain ourselves in the community there and leverage our expertise to give back? And so the governor is like, well, we've got these 18 rural schools that, they need AC, and, we could use lights on the streets at night so women and children feel safe walking around. And we said, well, we're in the electricity business, so let's see what we can do. And yeah, it's a win-win situation.
Very nice. Well, it'll be exciting to see some of the videos, the firsthand encounters. So yes, be sure to share it. We share it on the Shamari feeds and all that stuff to get the word out about that good that's going on down in Paraguay. And like you said, whether it's Paraguay or other places in the world, there's so many of these, especially mining companies that are out there and making, lives change in a deep, deep way that people have no idea about. And so getting the story out there is super important. Well, before we move on to the final 2 questions, I'll just remind everybody they're welcome to use code BFF Show for 10% off at Shamari.com. I'm happy to send you books, games, plushies, whatever you want. So feel free to drop that code in there and send some stuff your way. And let's wrap things up like we always do with the final 2 questions of the show. The first being, a common saying in the Bitcoin space is Bitcoin is time. Another belief is that time is the scarcest asset the world has ever created. So playing off of all that, what's the biggest gift of time that learning about Bitcoin has provided your family?
Yes, I mean, it took me a long time to wrap my head around that concept of time being the scarcest asset, but there is nothing more true than that. I say the question again, just to make sure I answered it properly.
What's the biggest gift of time that learning about Bitcoin has provided your family?
It's the freedom to not stress about money, the sleepless nights or the stress during the workday. It's just the time given back to us. 100%.
Very well said, and co-sign that there. And so that brings us to our final
You know what I'm
question.
talking about, right?
Yep. All right, we got this one here. So this one will hopefully get your wheel spinning too. If you had one Bitcoin to give each of your kids, at what age would you give them the keys and why?
Ooh. I've thought about this. That's a great question. See, would I have to do some funky time locking thing or because I don't know that I really want to get into that for various reasons. I think 18 is a little too soon. I think 30 is a little too long. Maybe 25. I feel like 25 because you're still not your final form when you're 25. But yeah, I would say 25.
That over the, I think this is the 20th episode, I believe somewhere around there, and 25 has probably been the most popular answer. So
Really?
you're in the cohort of
Yeah.
that range there. So we've heard all different things. The time lock is one that comes up, you're spreading it out, and who knows. But
That's a great question though.
yeah, I stole it for those that listen to from Daniel's Once Bitten podcast, who he always ends it with the orange pill question. So I kind of took a different spin on it from him. Well, perfect. Well, there's been an awesome conversation with Nathan. Hopefully the audience has enjoyed getting to know you, your DJ past, the pizzas and everything else that goes along with it. We'll be sure to link to you in the show notes. I can link to Hive. If the Hive videos are out before we put the show out, we can link to all that stuff. If not, feel free to come to the Hive channels to see that. Any other places you want to send the audience before we sign off?
No, I think you hit it all.
Perfect. Well, this has been a fun conversation. Thanks for hopping on, talking family life, and we will talk to everybody next week. Bye.
Thanks, Scott.
Hi, thanks for joining. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a good review. And buy your kids some stuff at sawmary.com today. Bye. 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 Bye.